All right, so we are good to start. Uh, Good evening and a warm welcome to all of you. Thanks a lot for joining us today. My name is Neeraj and I represent Transform Rule India Foundation. TRI, as we call it, was set up in 2016 and is working on bringing about paradigm shift in quality of life in rural areas, specifically the poorest areas of the country which have seen persistent poverty. And TRI is attempting to do this by galvanizing the collaborative endeavors of community, government, and market. So, as we say it, Samaj, Sarkar, and Bazaar ka collaboration se. So I again would like to welcome all of you. And for the past few months, we have had this unprecedented situation, and our colleagues on the ground have been extending themselves beyond the call of their duty to support the communities and the local administration in mounting an effective response to this global pandemic we are facing. And that is why we thought it will be a good idea for all of us to connect to our colleagues and learn from them the stories from the ground, and also share our feelings and experiences. So we have brought together our colleagues and our contributors to share their feelings and stories. So I'll like to introduce here the moderator for this session, Ms. Anu Mehta. She is the founder of an organization called Profit with Purpose, and which is working with companies and international development organizations to build development programs across India. So Anu is supporting TRI in partnership with Global Development Incubator on an initiative called Global Opportunity Youth Initiative. So I'll pause here and I'll hand over to Anu to take this forward. Anu, please.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. So it's really exciting to be here, and thank you for everybody who is here. Before we get into the conversation, just maybe a little bit of context setting, which I think everybody is familiar with, but just to bring all of the facts together in one place. Just to think of the magnitude of the situation that we're facing. So we have a population of about 1.3 billion, of which 833 million people live in villages, which is almost 70%. And then of those, we have 120 million migrants, people that are forced to migrate out into urban centers for work, which makes it almost 1 in 10 Indians that is forced to leave their villages. Now, as a result of the pandemic, the migrant crisis has been very, very visible to us on the one hand and very distressing, and we've been able to see the impacts. But on the other hand, there's also something happening in our villages where the agriculture and agri-allied activities are really suffering because the crop production has been disrupted, the supply, and that initially happened because supply chains were disrupted, but now it's also happening equally because the demand is shrinking very, very quickly. And that's happening in these villages that these migrants are going back to. So it's kind of like a double problem at the same time. And just these two things combined will render a few million people, a few 100 million people that are food insecure as well as livelihood insecure. And the most vulnerable of these populations will have to deal with the impact of this over a few months and even over a few years. So I think that's essentially the magnitude of what we're facing right now in a very, very small, in a nutshell. And I know that all of us have been reading much more about this, and we have much more information about this, and we know individual stories that have really kind of gotten to us. So just to say that TRI is doing really good work. They're doing amazing work to address the immediate crisis, which is there, as well as long-term impacts of the pandemic. And that approach consists of clearly 4 different segments. One is immediate relief work. The second is short-term rehabilitation, to just work with people that have been displaced and that have been rendered food income insecure. The third is rebuilding these communities that have been affected slowly. And the last is, over a longer period of time, how do we create overall longer term resilience in these communities that are the most vulnerable? because it's usually the communities that are the most vulnerable, that are the first hit, and that are the hardest to be hit, and also that take the longest time to bounce back from any kind of crisis. So this is again in a nutshell what TRI is doing. It's really, really amazing to see what they're doing. And so for the discussion today, what we've done is we've brought together a whole group of people who are supporting this work. So one group is of course the donors that are supporting this work, and they see value in it, and they have been working with TRI to make sure that there is relief that is able to reach the villages that we're working in. And then secondly is also our community of the frontline team that's really, as Neeraj said, gone beyond the call of duty into these villages, even at the cost of personal risk, to make sure that this effort is reaching the ground and is reaching the grassroots and is reaching the people who need this the most. And so we have this group of people that's going to talk not only about their experiences and their work, but also about also be the voice for the communities that they are working in and tell us their stories. So so we're hoping to have a really enriching discussion today. And what we're doing is that we will move over to the conversation quickly, before which I will do a quick round of introduction for all of our panelists, and just also a quick thank you and a very, very warm welcome to everyone on the panel, as well as the entire audience. So, so just to introduce our panelists, we have Ira, Archana, Disha, and Amit. Ira is a development professional. She works with Credit Access Asia, and she implements development programs with a focus on financial inclusion. Archana is an author, and she's written a book on food, which is called 5 Morsels of Love. Disha works in the impact investment space with the Avishkar Group, and Amit works in the healthcare services space with a company called Prosphora. And then, of course, we have all of our frontline team from TRI that are based across Madhya Pradesh and that are working at the grassroots level over there. And they've really gone beyond the call of duty to deliver work on the ground. And we're really looking forward to hearing from them. So Anuradha, Prerna, Anupam, Rupak, really eager to hear all of your accounts and all of your stories, which you're going to share with us today. Just quickly, before I hand over to Anupam, I just want to say that everybody in the audience, whoever has questions, if you could use the Q&A function just to put in your questions through the course of the session, and then we can address them immediately once the discussion is done, and we'll try and address as many as possible. That would be great. And then even if we can't address some, we will make sure that we are able to reach out at some point later to answer these questions. So over to you, Anupam. Can you tell us a little bit about the reality on the ground just now, and what the situation really is like in our villages that you're working in?
Thank you, Anu. Good evening to all of you. Just I will start my conversation with one story which I have seen in Sondwa block. During our food distribution, हम पहुंचे एक विलेज में जो कि डूब क्षेत्र था, सिंक एरिया सरदार सरोवर का. जस्ट एक लड़का मिला मुझे, जो छोटा बच्चा, इट्स 8 year old एक्चुअली. तो उसे मैंने बिस्किट का पैकेट दिया. तो उस बिस्किट के पैकेट को उसने यूजुअली खोला एंड जस्ट डिप डाउन दैट बिस्किट पैकेट इनटू दैट रिवर वाटर, जो साइड में पानी होता है नदी का, वहीं से उसने डिप किया और जस्ट स्टार्ट ईटिंग. तो सिचुएशन इस कन्वर्सेशन के स्टार्टिंग से आप समझ सकते हैं कि किस तरीके का है. बट इसको फिर भी मैंने तीन फेज में बांटा है, डिवाइड किया है 3 सब्जेक्ट्स में. पहला तो इकोनॉमिकल है, एंड सेकंड है गवर्नमेंट और कम्युनिटी गैप, और थर्ड है सोशल. तो इकोनॉमिकल में सबसे फर्स्ट जो है माइग्रेशन का है, कि सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम माइग्रेशन का है, क्योंकि हम जब रिमोट एरियाज में काम कर रहे हैं तो वहाँ सबसे ज्यादा लोग माइग्रेट करते हैं. और स्पेशली जब आप ऐसे एरिया में काम करते हैं जहाँ पे खेती का केवल एक ही सीजन होता है, वो भी बारिश का, तो मोर देन 50% पॉपुलेशन माइग्रेट कर जाती है. और एक फियर का फैक्टर हो जाता है आने का जाने का कि कैसे करें. तो जब माइग्रेशन लौट के आया वहां पर, तो 3-4 तरीके की चीजें उससे कहीं ना कहीं जुड़ी हुई रही. जैसे कि लेबर की अवेलेबिलिटी, एक जगह पे बहुत ज्यादा लेबर की अवेलेबिलिटी होगी हमारे रूरल एरियाज में, तो जो वेज का डिफरेंस है या इनकम की डिफरेंस है वो बहुत, मतलब विलेज लेवल में बहुत कम हो गया. जहाँ अर्बन एरियाज में वहां पे बहुत ज्यादा हो गया, तो ये गैप क्रिएट हो गया। इसके अलावा जो उनने इतने दिनों तक 4-5 महीने में सेविंग की, तो उसको कहीं ना कहीं इन्होंने ट्रेवलिंग में लगा दिया, क्योंकि पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट ऑलमोस्ट क्लोज हो चुका था उस टाइम। तो या तो वॉक करके आते, या तो बहुत ही ज्यादा पैसे लगते थे ट्रेवल करने में, व्हीकल हायर करने में, तो ऑलमोस्ट जो उनकी सेविंग थी वो वहां पे खत्म हो गई। सेकेंड पार्ट जब मैं बात करूं, तो गवर्नमेंट और कम्युनिटी के बीच की गैप की जब बात करूं, तो वो लॉकडाउन केवल पब्लिक के लिए नहीं था, वो लॉकडाउन गवर्नमेंट के लिए भी था। कहीं ना कहीं डिपार्टमेंट्स भी कहीं ना कहीं स्टक हो गए थे, वो वर्क फ्रॉम होम कर रहे थे। जो कुछ डिपार्टमेंट्स हमारे थे, वो भी उस लॉकडाउन की कुछ न कुछ एक्टिविटीज में डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन द्वारा लगा दिए गए। तो जो अलाइड एक्टिविटीज थी डिस्ट्रिक्ट की, वो कहीं ना कहीं पे हैम्पर कर गई, शॉर्ट कर गई, जिसमें सबसे फोकस था पीडीएस को लेके बात करें कि कई लोग ऐसे थे जिनके राशन कार्ड नहीं बने थे, या वो कहीं दूसरी जगह रह रहे थे, अब वहां से आए तो उन्हें राशन नहीं मिला। दूसरा था मनरेगा की एक्टिविटीज इतनी जल्दी शॉर्ट उसमें प्रोसेस में स्टार्ट नहीं हुई, उनको भी स्टार्ट होने में टाइम लगा, तो जो इनकम उनके पास थी वो 0 हो गई थी। अब वहां से वो स्टार्ट करना बड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो रहा था। उसके अलावा दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट जैसे एग्रीकल्चर हो गया, और भी हमारी लाइवलीहुड की जो एक्टिविटीज वाले डिपार्टमेंट्स हैं, वो भी कहीं ना कहीं स्टक हो गए। जो सबसे बड़ा पार्ट था, और पता नहीं आगे भी किस तरीके का होगा, जो सोशल पार्ट था, सोशल पार्ट में एक बड़ा था कि क्राइम रेट बढ़ गया। एक्चुअली क्राइम रेट इसलिए बढ़ गया कि लोगों का कंसंट्रेशन हो गया, लाइवलीहुड एक्टिविटीज स्टॉप हो गई कहीं ना कहीं, तो वो क्राइम रेट बढ़ना शुरू हो गया। डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस बोले आप उसको, या चोरी बोले, कहीं ना कहीं उसको एक इनकम का जरिया बनाना शुरू किया। तो रूरल एरियाज में क्राइम रेट बढ़ गया, क्योंकि पुलिस के इन्वॉल्वमेंट कहीं ना कहीं लॉकडाउन की एक्टिविटीज में लगने हो गए, बॉर्डर्स, चेक पोस्ट, इस तरह की एक्टिविटीज में पुलिस के इन्वॉल्वमेंट ज्यादा हो गए। उसके अलावा एक गैप विद इन कम्युनिटी शुरू हो गया। एग्जाम्पल के लिए, जैसा बॉर्डर में मैं काम कर रहा था गुजरात और महाराष्ट्र, वहां पे कोई भी बाहर से आ रहा है तो उसको एक अलग नजरिए से देखा जा रहा है कि ही इज कमिंग और शी इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द दैट इफेक्टेड एरिया। तो आइसोलेशन के बाद भी उसको सोसाइटी में एक्सेप्ट करना बड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो रहा था, इवन नॉट ओनली फॉर द कम्युनिटी, इट्स ऑल्सो फॉर द डिपार्टमेंट ऑल्सो। तो इस तरीके का एक सिचुएशन बहुत ही क्रिटिकल, इन तीनों चीजों में कहीं ना कहीं एक गैप बनता शुरू हो गया है। और एनी हाउ आगे चल के वो गैप कितना बढ़ेगा घटेगा, वो थोड़ा सा क्लियर करना डिफिकल्ट होगा। अनु, this is from my side.
Great, thank you so much Anupam, exactly on time. Rupak, we'll move on to you. आप थोड़ा बताएंगे कि कोई specific stories जो आपको ग्राउंड पे एक्सपीरियंस हुई है, एंड any of the challenges, any positive moments, can you talk about that a little bit?
As Anupam tells, a panic situation already exists in the community related to this pandemic because it is an unprecedented thing. हम जहाँ पे काम करते हैं ये झाबुआ जिला के पेटलाबाद ब्लॉक है, जो माइग्रेशन के सोर्स और डेस्टिनेशन दोनों ही है। करीब 1 लाख के ऊपर माइग्रेशन इस रास्ते से गुजर चुके हैं अभी तक। इस ब्लॉक में आज तक 7,000 माइग्रेंट्स ऑलरेडी रिटर्न किए हैं, ऑलरेडी 12,000 और माइग्रेंट्स आएंगे। ऐसी स्थिति में लोगों के अंदर एक दहशत का भी माहौल है, एक रियल टाइम में एक थ्रेट का भी संभावना है कि पैंडेमिक कभी भी स्प्रेड कर सकते हैं। तो हम लोगों के यहाँ पे जब पॉजिटिव केस फाइंड आउट हुआ था, तब कम्युनिटी के अंदर एक किस्म का पैनिक क्रिएट हो गया था कि लोग घर से दहशत में घर से निकलना बंद कर दिया था। आपने खेत में जो मजदूर को के सहायता लेते थे, उन मजदूर को काम से बंद कर दिया था। दहशत का माहौल इतना था कि जो हमारे हेल्थ वर्कर है, फास्ट जो पॉजिटिव केस आए थे, उनको सैनिटाइजर से सैनिटाइज किया था डिस्ट्रिक्ट हॉस्पिटल में एडमिशन करने के पहले। दैट इज अ वेरी वेरी इनह्यूमन थिंग। और हम लोग सभी लोगों ने इसके रिग्रेट किया था कि भाई ये ठीक नहीं है, ये अमानवीय घटना है। इस दहशत के महल में और एक आयाम डेवलप हुआ था जो बहुत ही खतरनाक हुआ था कि जो गर्भवती महिला है, उनके परिवार उनको सरकारी जो एम्बुलेंस सर्विस है उसके माध्यम से उनको हॉस्पिटल तक भेज नहीं रहे थे। उनको ये डर लग रहा था कभी इस एम्बुलेंस में कोरोना तो गया नहीं, उनके आने वाले बच्चे को कोरोना ना हो जाए, इस तरह का एक माहौल था। उसमें इन लोगों का जो गर्भवती महिला है उनको इन टाइम सर्विसेज मिलना बहुत दिक्कत हो रहा था। तो इस समय में हमारे एक क्लस्टर लेवल फेडरेशन, उन्होंने एक इनोवेटिव, उन्होंने गूगल मीट में अपना मीटिंग करके एक इनोवेटिव आइडिया डेवलप किया। उन्होंने बोला कि हम लोग एक गाड़ी हायर करेंगे और सिर्फ गर्भवती महिलाओं को ही सर्विस देंगे, और ये सर्विसेज 24/7 आज के दिन में रन कर रहे हैं, और इंटायरली एसएचजी ग्रुप्स, सीएलएफ, वीओ द्वारा ही ये नियंत्रित हो रहे हैं। ऐसे कंडीशन में करीब 25-30 गांव में इन लोगों ने ये सर्विसेज दे रहे हैं। ऐसे जब चल रहा था, पैरेलली हमारे जो क्लस्टर लेवल फेडरेशन है, उनका जो एसएचजी मेंबर्स है, उन्होंने फिजिकल डिस्टेंसिंग मेंटेन करते हैं, घर घर जाके लोगों को सजेस्ट कर रहे थे कि कैसे इस पेंडेमिक से बचा जा सकता है, कैसे हम लोग क्या प्रिकॉशन ले सकते हैं। उन्होंने ये भी समझा रहे थे कि हम लोगों को कोरोना के लिए तो डरना जरूरी है, डर के अपना प्रोटेक्शन लेना जरूरी है, बट उसके चलते हम जो लोग बाहर से माइग्रेशन से आए हैं उनके साथ भेदभाव ना करें, उनके साथ हम लोग अन्याय ना करें। इसी तरह का उन लोगों कम्युनिटी में समझा रहे थे। जब एक टाइम में पहले पहले जब कोरोना आए थे, तब तक लोगों के जो बाहर से आ रहे थे उनके साथ कोई बात नहीं करने जा रहे थे, उनको कोई दुकानदार दुकान के सामान नहीं दे रहे थे। पर ये सिचुएशन हम लोगों को 10-15-20 दिन में चेंज मिला, जब फर्स्ट पॉजिटिव केस जो था वो नेगेटिव आए और उनको हॉस्पिटल से रिलीज किया। तो अपने उनके गांव के लोग उनको हॉस्पिटल से लेकर गए घर तक, और वहां पे वो दीदी इतना डरे हुए थे, अपना छोटा बच्चा 2 साल 1.5 साल का बच्चा है, उनका अपने पास आने नहीं दे रहे थे, इतना दहशत था उनके अंदर। तो उस गांव के खास तौर पे कम्युनिटी कलेक्टिव मेंबरों ने बहुत अच्छे से उनको रेगुलर मैनर में समझाया था। तो ये एक इनोवेटिव काम था कम्युनिटी कलेक्टिव्स की तरफ से, और आगे हम लोगों को लगता है कि इसी तरह से कम्युनिटी अगर इसके साथ जुड़े हुए रहेंगे तो हम लोग जरूर एक रे ऑफ होप देख सकते हैं, कोविड को लेकर भी हम लोग जिंदा रह सकते हैं। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Rupak. Thank you so much. That was some really good points. If we can move over to a little bit to the donor side now, and Disha, if we can get a little bit of an insight from you on what really your motivation and what the driver behind you donating towards COVID relief was, and then also specifically to the work that TRI are doing. So if you could just give us a little bit of insights on that.
Sure, Anu. Thanks a lot. First of all, thanks to the entire TRI team that is on the ground and doing such fantastic work. So I'll give you a little bit of background from the donor perspective, especially what we were trying to do at Avishkar. So when the crisis sort of began, we had two important questions staring at us. One was, in what way do we make ourselves helpful? Because we don't come from this background of doing actual on-ground work. And second was, how do we do it? Now, Avishkar Group itself is one of the largest impact-focused groups in the country. And we have businesses across financial services, NBFC, microfinance, a private equity fund, and consultancy arm within our group. So impact as a sector and the kind of community impact that this pandemic was having, we could see what implications this would have in the months to roll down. So as early as around the end of March is when we sort of decided to help financially. And all the employees across the group sort of contributed part of their salaries towards creating a fund. And then the second question was whether we should give this money to a PM Cares fund, or one of the larger sort of run programs, national government run programs, or should we sort of get ourselves a little more closer to the ground and get our hands a little dirty in terms of trying to help organizations like TRI. Our association with TRI dates long back. We've worked in several ways and forms with TRI in the past as well. And what sort of stood out the most with the TRI team was the connect and the solid intelligence that they had on the actual situation in far off districts through their connects in the local authorities. So I think, that's how the decision making sort of panned out for us.
Great. Thank you so much, Disha. And then also hear a little bit from Archana, one of our other donors, just also from a food and a hunger perspective, but also on food and hunger, but from a completely different perspective on the same topic. So Archana, over to you. Can you tell us a little bit about what motivated you really to come forward and donate, and then also specifically to the work that TRI are doing?
Yeah, sure. So as Anu mentioned, I'm a writer, and I write about food. And I think when you write about food, you cannot not think about hunger. And we as a society have been a society of, dichotomies, and we've always had abundance on one side, and we've had acute hunger on the other side. It's just that I think there was a kind of compassion fatigue across the board, that people stopped noticing the real issues on the ground before the pandemic, I'm talking. So when everything kind of just, started maybe early March, and we started seeing visuals of what was happening on the ground, the people walking back home, or as Anupam was mentioning, the story of the child and the biscuit packet. So while we have one set of the population talking about banana bread on Instagram, we have another large set of people who are, with outstretched arms looking for a banana to eat. So I think as an individual contributor, as an individual who has worked in food, it's impossible not to be moved by what we are seeing. It's there's also some bit of the state apathy, and I think again, I think Anupam made the point about PDS and the data that just kept staring at us, that maybe 8 to 10 crore people in this country don't even have ration cards. So where do they get their rations from? So all these details, I think we were just totally blind to, or we were just too caught up in our own lives. And the pandemic kind of threw everything at us, and it was just impossible not to be moved and not to act. And not to help in some way, in whatever little way. And as I started looking for places where I could, sitting at home, still be of some use, or some way I could contribute to, a very good friend of mine for over 20 years, works with TRIF. So Bisoya brought this to my attention, and she said TRIF folks are on the ground, and they're doing some great work with with relief, and with community kitchens, with distribution of the PPEs and the hygiene kits. So it was something I thought where I could help, and whatever I contribute would have some impact. Again, as I said, it's probably easy for me sitting at home saying this. The real heroes are the people on the ground doing the work. Yeah. So I think that's my story about not just, and I think it's impossible not to act right now as anybody in the society.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Archana. I think that's a really powerful point, because on the one hand, we have people that are forced, quote unquote, forced to lock down at home and complaining that we're locked down, and we're cooking and we're baking because we're stressed out. But then we also have, on the other hand, people that don't know where the next meal is going to come from. And so whatever we can do is towards just changing that reality is something that we should kind of make the effort to take up. So thank you for bringing up that point. And then maybe with that, we can move over to Prerna, who can tell us a little bit about the work actually that's really happening on the ground that TRI is facilitating, and just the different kinds of interventions that you have for people that are affected the most in the villages that you're working in.
Yeah, so I'll start with the coverage, like how many areas we cover. So we have been directly present in the front line in 3 states of Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal and Jharkhand, with 725 villages and 28 blocks in 19 districts with direct intervention, and 31 aspirational districts where our aspirational district fellows are working in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Bihar and Odisha. So covering up what efforts TRI and partners are doing is like we have started working for humanitarian support where we saw different things. It started with helping out the vulnerable families with aged people, physically disabled, single women, and then we moved, like we saw that the situation is getting out of control. So it opened gate for various activities where we started engaging in with migrants and getting them contacted for food, health services, and making them reach out to their homes. Moving on to the next activity we have been engaged is the major activity with neighborhood response activities where FLWs, our community cadre, our representatives from different community institutions have been extending each other for awareness, for technical supports, for their safety purposes, safety kits and all. And then the community institutions we have been engaged with are regularly engaging in awareness activities through wall writing, songs, pictures they have been depicting and displaying all over the places. With this, we moved towards working along with the Gram Panchayat system, strengthening it and making the social security schemes reaching to their doorsteps, covering like PDS, which Anupam also stated early, ration and all. And along with that, the special announcements of pension and other aids which have been reaching out to them. Along with this, with community, we have been doing engaging in community kitchen services to their doorsteps after like community kitchen for nutritional food and proper supply of 2 meals per day at least. Along with this, we have been supporting the frontline health system workers with protective kits, masks, and assurance, along with technical and technological support. And we have been continuously engaged in trainings through Google Meet and Zoom platforms to various cadres of the community, along with community institution members, our frontline workers, panchayat representatives, etc. Along with this, catering the economic resilience, we have been regularly and continuously supporting the farmer activities, their forward linkages for making their produce reach the market and getting fair prices. And this was from the side of which TRI has been doing and engaging with.
Thank you, Prerna. That's a lot of work, and thank you for highlighting it for everybody, because I think that everybody might have understood a little bit of the work that's happening, but I think you pulled it together very concisely so that we're able to see a larger picture. So thank you for that. Also, just related with that, I wanted to ask you what a typical day of yours looks like when you actually go into the village. So can you tell us a little bit about that, and then just about how you feel about it, and then how you feel at the beginning of the day, what your challenges, struggles really are during the day, and what your feeling is at the end of the day. And then also what some of the highlights and what some of the wins are when you're on the ground and doing this work.
Yeah. So it would be really biased when I don't tell about the situation where I live in. So I'll start with the type of situation where I live in or my colleagues, frontline people live in. So I have been placed in Dindori district, and the block I am placed is Amarpur block. So many other people can see the statistics over the net also. The block is very sparsely located blocks where habilitations are like they vary from 100 meters to even 1.5 kilometers. So the door-to-door distance is like this only. The road connectivity, the rainfall is really poor in this area. It rains about 12 months a year, sporadic rainfall, and the land topography is very undulating, very rocky. So this is the situation, the geography of the block. And coming to the services, the health services are not very proper. We have just one doctor for the entire block covering 101 villages with population over 20,000 people as per last census. So this is the situation of our block, and my day typically starts with distress calls from migrants from villages calling for that their ration have ended up, or they have some health issues and they don't have access to health services. They want to get connected with to services. So my another 30 minutes to 45 minutes goes in the same, connecting them to various channels, to various institutes who are working for the same, connecting them to system. And then when I start going, like when I think about start going to the field, so I have to leave really early because the lockdown timings are restricted like 8 to 1 in the block. So the maximum time we get in the field is just 8 to 1. So it's really difficult that you have to leave early in the morning, and like we know that it is very difficult for us to get proper food on doorstep here also. So lunch and dinner and breakfast are like all God's grace. And when I leave for the field, it's like I majorly engaged in fields for distribution purposes of food kits, safety kits, or medical equipments. So what the striking thing was that when I went to people for handing over the kit I had, like we identified old people, aged people living alone, abandoned from the family. So I met a woman, a lady in her mid 70s. So उन्होंने मेरे को देखा, और when I handed over the kit of 1 week ration to her, she said कि चलो पानी के लिए तो मुझे इतना दूर जाना पड़ता है, but at least I have food for a week. मेरे बच्चे मुझे नहीं देते, कम से कम मेरे पास एक हफ्ते का खाना तो हो गया है. Then I asked about like what are the issues, पानी आपको क्यों इतना दूर जाना पड़ता है. तो उन्होंने कहा कि गांव में सिर्फ एक ही हैंडपंप है जो काम करता है, और उसके लिए मुझे सर पे 350 मीटर से पानी लेके आना होता है. और क्योंकि सबको पानी का दिक्कत है तो लोग हेल्प भी नहीं कर पाते, नहीं तो पानी खत्म हो जाएगा अगर वो एक दूसरे की हेल्प करने लगे. तो इस तरीके के इश्यूज जब आते हैं तो ऐसे it is very shocking and like saddening to कि एक इतनी एज्ड वुमन को इतना सब कुछ करना पड़ता है. बट फिर उनका वो जो ब्लेसिंग था कि चलो कम से कम इतना फूड दे दिया, यू विल गो वेरी, मतलब बहुत ब्लेसिंग्स तुमको, आगे जाओगे एंड ऑल. तो इट मेक्स मी हैप्पी, इट ब्रिंग्स अ स्माइल ओवर द फेस. और फिर उसके बाद अपने स्ट्रगल्स के बारे में अगर बात करें तो एक तो फीमेल होके इस फील्ड में काम करना इज अ ग्रेट स्ट्रगल, क्योंकि यू डोंट हैव सेफ वाटर एंड सेफ सैनिटेशन सर्विसेज. ऑल्सो वाइल मेंस्ट्रुएटिंग पीरियड बहुत ज्यादा इश्यूज होते हैं बिकॉज यू डोंट हैव एनक्लोज स्पेस वेयर इवन यू कैन get your pads disposed or you can just pee. So it's really struggling over here. और एरिया भी बहुत deserted है, तो it's very difficult for us to like survive here. But वो जो blessing it brings motivation और वो सब कुछ खत्म कर देती है.
Yeah.
That's all from my side.
Thank you so much, Reena. So yeah, just thank you for telling us about that, and then also for all of the amazing work that you and the rest of the team are doing. I think we'll also move on to Anuradha, who's also part of the frontline team. And Anuradha, if you can tell us a little bit about, as Prerna said, that it's really, really difficult work. You've put yourself at risk to do this work, and you've not been mandated to do this. You voluntarily kind of committed to doing this at your end. So what was it really that motivated you to go beyond the call of duty and go on the ground? And also, as all of us are, how did you kind of deal with the, you know, just a little bit of apprehension that comes towards going on the ground, because you don't know what the infection is like, and especially if people have come back, then you don't know what that scenario is like. So can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you, Anu. Actually, मैं आपका पहला सवाल का आंसर पहले देना चाहूंगी. सभी की बात सुन के हो सकता है जो ऑडियंसेस है उनको लग सकता है, बाकी पैनलिस्ट को लग सकता है कि रियलिटी बहुत खराब है. पर अगर आप ऑन द अदर हैंड अगर आप देखेंगे कि कहाँ से आप मोटिवेशन ड्रॉ करते हैं, इसी रियलिटी से हम मैं कहीं ना कहीं अगर आप मुझे पूछे तो मैं मोटिवेशन ड्रॉ करती हूँ. सो मैं अगर पर्सनल मोटिवेशन की बात करूँ तो जो ये लॉकडाउन हुआ सबसे पहले वीक में तो आई वाज नॉट दैट सीरियस. मुझे लगा कि ठीक है, चल रहा है, ये चलेगा. उसी टाइम में मैं एक रात को घर के बाहर थी, तो 2-3 ड्राइवर्स को मिली थी, दे आर सर्चिंग फॉर वाटर। तो उनसे बात हुई, तो मैंने उनको पानी दिया। दे आस्क, फिर मैंने थोड़ा सा बात किया कि क्या हुआ, पानी क्यों नहीं मिला। तो उन्होंने शेयर किया कि वो इस लॉकडाउन में फंस गए हैं और सारे दुकान और रेस्टोरेंट सब कुछ बंद है, तो उनको पानी खाना कुछ भी नहीं मिल रहा था। ऑन दैट डे आई वाज बिट सीरियस। मैंने सोचा कि हमारे फील्ड में भी इसका बहुत ज्यादा इश्यूज चल रहा होगा, तो आई शुड टॉक टू माय टीम एंड द कम्युनिटी इंस्टीट्यूशंस की गांव में क्या स्थिति है। तो अगले दिन जैसे मैंने बात किया सभी से, कम्युनिटी इंस्टीट्यूशंस के लीडर्स से, तो पता चला कि गांव में भी समहाउ ऐसे ही स्थिति था, लोग फंसे हुए हैं, खाना नहीं मिल रहा है। तो इस खराब सिचुएशन में भी एक जो बहुत मोटिवेशनल चीजें था, कुछ दीदियों ने शेयर किया कि वो अपने से ही कंट्रीब्यूशन कर रहे हैं, कुछ पैसे कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं, कुछ अपने घर से राशन कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं, जो भूखा है उनको खाना खिला रहे हैं अपने घर से। कुछ ऐसे नोमैड्स थे जो कि फंस गए हैं, 20-30 फैमिलीज हैं, तो एक गांव था जो पूरा कंट्रीब्यूट करके उनको खाना खिला रहा था। तो दैट पॉइंट वो मुझे बहुत ज्यादा मोटिवेट किया। मुझे लगा कि हमें ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल लेवल पे और ऑन ए पर्सनल नोट ऑल्सो कुछ करने की जरूरत है। सो ऐसे में ही फिर हम लोग ड्राई राशन पैकेट्स वगैरह बांटने के लिए निकले। तो जो ड्राई राशन पैकेट लेके जो ड्राइवर आया था, उससे भी मेरी थोड़ी देर बातचीत हुई कि कैसे आप आए, क्या क्या सिचुएशन है। तो उसने भी अपना स्ट्रगल शेयर किया कि वो पूरा रास्ता विदाउट बिस्किट, आई मीन विदाउट फूड, सिर्फ बिस्किट से आया था, पानी ये नहीं था। तो मुझे बहुत ज्यादा ये चीज महसूस हुआ कि ये जो खाना हमारे तक पहुंचा है इतने स्ट्रगल के बाद, ये हमें सही बेनिफिशरी तक पहुंचाने की जरूरत है। तो दैट वाज द पॉइंट जो मुझे पर्सनल लेवल पे बहुत ज्यादा मोटिवेट करता है। एंड जब गांव में गए तो वो ऐसे ऐसे लोगों के साथ मुलाकात हो रहा था कि जिनको सिस्टम का, मतलब गवर्नमेंट की सर्विसेज का कभी भी किसी भी तरीके का लाभ नहीं मिला था। तो जैसे प्रेरणा ने बताया कि कोई वृद्ध विकलांग व्यक्ति थे, कोई ऐसे प्रेग्नेंट वीमेन है जिसके पास कुछ भी नहीं पहुंचा था। तो ऐसे बेनिफिशरीज को हमें सपोर्ट करके बहुत ज्यादा सेल्फ सेटिस्फेक्शन फील हो रहा था। तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा मोटिवेशनल फैक्टर था। एंड साथ में जो लोग काम करते हैं, जो हमारे फील्ड के टीम है, पार्टनर्स हैं, हम कुछ पार्टनर्स एनजीओ के साथ काम करते हैं। तो इस पैंडेमिक के स्थिति में भी पर्सनल रिस्क लेने के लिए किसी भी साथी ने मना नहीं किया। सभी लोग तैयार थे फील्ड में जाने के लिए। साथ साथ मैं थोड़ा सा ये भी एक्नॉलेज करती हूँ कि हमारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का जो कल्चर है, जैसे मैं अपने कलीग्स को देखती हूँ या फिर अपने सीनियर्स को देखती हूँ, तो अभी वो कैसे अपना सपोर्ट एक्सटेंड कर रहे हैं। कोई टाइम लिमिट नहीं है, हम कभी भी उनको कॉल कर सकते हैं, कभी भी किसी भी तरीके की सपोर्ट ले सकते हैं। तो दीज थिंग्स आर रियली मोटिवेट्स मी अ लॉट कि इसको मैं एक पर्सनल रिस्क लेके भी फील्ड में जाके लोगों को मदद करूं।
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anuradha. So I think we've got a good mix of an overview of just statistics, different interventions, as well as first-hand accounts of all of the good things that are happening in the communities, along with all of the challenges and struggles that they're facing. And so we have so we're able to weave that into a very real narrative, because we now have statistics as well as stories. So thank you for that. The entire frontline team, you all did a fantastic job of just even talking about everything that you're doing. Just moving over to again to some of our funders. We've seen how the communities that are the most vulnerable have really been impacted with because of the pandemic, and they're really struggling even for food. But this has also kind of changed the reality for all of us, and just the way we are looking at a society, and how we just the different structures in society, and how we've really let our society build over the years. And just because things were going fine, we didn't really we had the luxury of ignoring all of the vulnerabilities on which our society was built. But now, because all of these vulnerabilities have been pushed to the forefront as a result of the pandemic, we've really been forced to face them. And just also just facing these kind of systemic issues that are existing in our societies, making us rethink what our role should be, and just shifting our reality. So I'd love to hear from Ira, who's one of our donors, just on how what you have been thinking of since this whole thing has started, and how are you how is this reinforcing what you currently believe in, or how is this helping you redefine what your role could be in the larger system, and just the things that you could do?
Sure. Thank you very much for the introduction, and I'm so inspired by what I've heard so far. It's fantastic, really, the work that's going on in the field. So I am based in Bangkok in Thailand, and I'm coming at this from the standpoint of a development professional. For me, what COVID has done is, I think it has reinforced several themes that keep reoccurring in development and remind me that I have to work harder on these themes. I'd like to address the theme of interconnectedness, the theme of inequality, and the theme of sustainability. So to start with interconnectedness, obviously technology and improved transportation infrastructure has led to increasing interconnection from different parts of the globe, and this has led to a greater sense of understanding, a greater appreciation of different countries and cultures, and also greater access to goods and services that we once never had access to because of improved trade links, and we're able to more efficiently procure these goods and services. But this increased connectivity has also, of course, led to Wuhan coming to India by 2,000 students from Kerala who are studying in Wuhan in a medical college there. I had no idea that, I had never heard of Wuhan before January of this year. I definitely didn't know that there was this ongoing relationship between Kerala and Wuhan in terms of medical students going there to study. I think the second trigger in India, if I remember correctly, for COVID was when a bunch of Italian tourists came and spread the virus as they were touring different parts of the country. So human populations are basically on the move, as we know, which is great in many ways. But it also makes us realize, I think, because we are connected, a problem that occurs in one area is most definitely going to become our problem as well. And therefore, in successfully and effectively responding to problems like this, we must have a collective response. We must have a collaborative response. I'll give you a small example of the microfinance institutions that we work with. We have one in India, a large one actually based out of Bangalore. And our loan officers have really realized very quickly that in order for them to respond to the needs of the vulnerable, financially vulnerable, and give them the loans that they need at this point, grant the disbursements and basically connect with them, they have to work with the local and collaborate with local NGOs in terms of distributing sanitizers, in terms of distributing masks, in terms of getting preventative hygiene messages out. They are collaborating with public authorities on the ground as well in terms of tracking the infected household and then giving that information to the government authorities so that they can plug it into their GPS mapping system and implement the track, trace, and isolate system. So there's a lot of collaboration that is lending itself to an effective response. So I guess my first point, and this speaks to what Prerna was saying as well, is that we must appreciate the interconnections that exist. And as development practitioners, I think we must always connect the dots in our minds on how one issue relates to another issue, and therefore how we should develop effective partnerships leading to effective action on the ground. So that's point number one in terms of interconnectedness. The second issue that has really been exposed itself to me more starkly now than ever before is the issue of inequality. The fact that households, not just in developing countries like India, but very advanced countries like the United States, who cannot survive basically beyond 2 weeks if they don't have an income coming in. The savings rate is so low. Of course, we know that the poor are disproportionately hit the hardest right now. Even in the United States, in fact, the greatest number of fatalities that are occurring currently are in the African American and the minority population. In India, the migrants are suffering greatly, and daily wages as well, of course. Here in Thailand, which is where I'm based, same problem. There's a lot of migrants here from adjoining countries of Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar who come here to work and then send remittances back to their families in these countries. But now that has all stopped. There's no remittances going out because the borders are closed. And so you have people, migrants who are suffering here, who are stuck here because they cannot travel back home and don't have an income and are starving. And then their families in those countries that are also suffering as well. Much of our workforce here in Thailand, like in India, is informal sector. I think it's something like 60% of the workforce that is informal sector, most of whom are women. So they are, they're really out of luck right now, just, no income coming in. So the fact is that these sorts of pandemics definitely exacerbate existing inequalities and have exposed to me or to all of us in plain sight how severe the problem is. Really, if you cannot survive beyond 2 weeks without an income, wow, that is really not very nice. So from a public policy standpoint, I think the need of the hour is to work on universal protection for the vulnerable.
Yeah.
If I have 1 more minute, I'll just cover one last point on sustainability, which is, if anything, COVID has made me think about the links between environmental sustainability and the future of us as a species. Some of you might have heard of Jane Goodall, who's a British primatologist. She has studied chimpanzees for the past 5 decades. And she's unbelievable. She says, look, the links are very clear. This is a man-made disaster in many ways because we have destroyed our habitat. I mean, effectively crowding animals together and crowding humans together, and then crowding animals and humans together as well. We hunt animals, we prey on them, we eat them, we traffic them. And so the virus is spreading, where once viruses resided very comfortably in animals, because of the increased contact and consumption, they are very quickly spreading to humans, which they never once did. I don't know if any of you know this, just as an aside, the HIV/AIDS pandemic actually started because of human beings who'd gone to Africa and ate chimpanzee meat. And now we have corona, which has started because a human being apparently consumed a pangolin. Anyway, the point here is that we cannot continue to completely disregard the environment around us.
Yeah. Thanks, Ida. Just also, so that's really interesting. And just on your point to pandemics and how they started, I want to move over to Amit, who can maybe, Amit, if you can tell us a little bit about this from your perspective, from the healthcare services perspective, and how the response in that sector is really changing as a result of the pandemic, and just about your efforts that you're reaching out to the community. That would be great if you can cover that.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, my huge appreciations for your field people. I mean, these guys, let me tell you, this COVID is a contagion. And by the time it reached the Madhya Pradesh or wherever your people are working, the only requirement was the pantry filling. And you guys have done it right. So the pantry filling is very important in the poor areas. And I was hearing about from Prerna and all that, huge, outstanding work. Having said that, let me bring you some hope in the whole discussion. First of all, apologies. I'm in pharma industry. We do research in development, and we also manufacture drugs. So apologies because we have not been able to give you a medicine for that. It's very easy for a pharma company or a person involved in pharma to just donate medicines and get away with it. But this is something where committed people like you are required because this is something which has to play on psychology, play on hygiene, and personal touch. So till the time the vaccine is coming, I really hope, I wish all the strength and energy to Anupam and Anuradha and everybody who is doing that job. Because vaccine is not going to come very soon. That's for sure. We have to protect ourselves, and I generally tell people that in this kind of contagion, you have to take a simile like an airport. That before you actually save your protect your kid or protect your parents, first wear your own mask or oxygen mask. So that your people are doing. Now, in terms of pharma, I tell you that people are working on medicines and all that, and there's a lot of cocktail medicine available in India, which ICMR is not publicizing it. Only part is the following: that in another 20 days from now, you will see some like 80 to 85% recovery. So people are not going to die because they get into COVID. That's very good news. No, but the kind of work that you are doing, the first important part to address is the pantry filling. Please give them food, please give them nutritional food, and that is where you people stand out with somebody else. And I'll just give you an instance. I was talking to one of my colleagues who are the district collectors in Purnia, Buxar, and Ara, and they were finding people. I mean, no other team has a committed people like the guys you have. So these people had all the state machinery, but people were not coming to the hospitals in terms of health workers, helping them handling the COVID patients. So what I actually proposed to them is, I did one thing. I said, I promise you that once you certify your best health workers, at least 2 of them in your district, I'll get them a job in Mumbai. So and I'm very happy to share with you that that clicked, and everybody, all the 3 DCs have written to me that how it has transformed their feelings in terms of their family member getting assured for a job because they are coming out for the call of the duty. So, and in terms of my pharma experience, I tell you that focus more on hand wash, focus more on washing from soap. Disinfectant is a swag which should be left to Mumbai and Bangkok. Please, every time promote washing of hand by soap at least 3 times a day for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Amit. Really valuable points, especially from the corporate space and how you're extending your effort to support this beyond donation, as well as specifically from the healthcare space, just to give all of us an insight into everything that's happening. So I think we have a few minutes. What I'll do is I'll conclude, post which I can hand over to Neeraj in case there are any questions from the audience. So, so basically just wanted to do a quick conclusion and say thank you to everybody who's doing all of the different things that they are doing to come together and fight this. It's very, very heartening to see this entire group come together as a community and operating in solidarity. And we're all operating from a place of hope, and it's towards a common purpose. And that's very, very rare to find these days, just when there's so much polarization that's happening in India and across the world. And also, I think to Amit's point, it's really valuable for us to use this opportunity to think of how we can help. And as I think all of our funders said that I think donating money is the easiest thing we can do. But if we think a little bit more about what we can really do beyond donating, this is a great chance to do that. And it's going to be a very, very long journey to rebuild everything from all of the devastation that's caused, especially in our most vulnerable communities. And it's really important that all of us walk this together. And just knowing that everybody is already here, everybody is interested in hearing these stories is a very, very good, it's a good indicator that that's already happening, that everyone is prepared to go the distance together. So just wanted to thank everybody for that, and conclude and hand over to Neeraj. Neeraj, would you like to take over for the any questions from the participants?
Yeah, sure. So thanks again to all of you for sharing such interesting stories from the field, and also the feelings of contributors as to how we as a community and citizen were able to help the communities, our less fortunate brethren in the country, to effectively respond to this unprecedented crisis. So I have many questions here which are there, but I tried to figure out few questions which probably we have some time to answer. So one is around, people were asking and wanted to know what is the status. So we heard about the status of women, the status of, elderly. And so some people have asked what was the status of children in rural areas, specifically the children who have come back with their parents, who have gone for migration with their parents and have come back. So if any one of our colleagues would like to take that and throw some light on that.
So perhaps anybody from the frontline team, Anupam, what about you? If Anuradha, sure, you want to talk about it? Yeah.
Actually, initially the children are very happy because the school is closed. पढ़ाई नहीं करने को होता था, होमवर्क नहीं था, पर ये लॉकडाउन की वजह से बहुत ज्यादा इश्यूज चिल्ड्रंस के भी, किड्स के भी मेंटल स्टेटस में हो रहा है. तो इसमें हमारा एक पार्टनर है जो बेसिकली चिल्ड्रंस के साथ काम करते हैं, तो उनसे हमारी कुछ दिन पहले बातचीत हो रही थी. तो अभी बच्चे थोड़ा सा अपना फोकस चेंज कर रहे हैं कि कैसे वो मोबाइल से सीख सकते हैं, कैसे वो ऑडियो स्टोरीज से सीख सकते हैं. तो ये भी क्वाइट इंटरेस्टिंग है और उनके लिए, कुछ बच्चों के लिए थोड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग भी है. और जहाँ पे थोड़ा सा उनको खाने पीने की दिक्कत है जिस फैमिलीज में, वहाँ पे डेफिनेटली बच्चों के लिए बहुत प्रॉब्लमेटिक सिचुएशन है. तो ये दो तरीके का सिचुएशन है. कुछ चीजें बच्चों के लिए बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग भी है और कुछ चीजें बहुत खराब स्थिति में भी है.
और आप थोड़ा जो उनकी मानसिक परिस्थिति है उसके बारे में थोड़ा बताएंगे, जस्ट द मेंटल distress that they might be facing if they've come back or if they've taken a crowded train back or if they've had to walk back.
जो माइग्रेंट्स मतलब जो माइग्रेंट्स लेबर्स के बच्चे हैं, उनके साथ एक बड़ा इशू है कि बाकी पेरेंट्स उनको बच्चे के साथ खेलने नहीं देते हैं. तो ये एक बहुत ही डिस्टर्बिंग माहौल है गांव में. तो ये डेफिनेटली है. हमारे कम्युनिटी इंस्टीट्यूशंस के लीडर्स कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि वो उनके साथ बात करें, काउंसिल करें, पर स्टिल क्योंकि वो क्वारंटाइन में है, बहुत ज्यादा गांव में बहुत डर का माहौल है, तो कोई जा भी नहीं रहा है, तो बच्चे बहुत डिस्टर्ब भी है.
थैंक यू अनुराधा.
Yeah. So thank you. And similarly, one more question we have regarding the status and the सिचुएशन ऑफ यूथ. सो जो युवा है खासकर इस इशू को कैसे देख रहे हैं, एंड क्या उनमें आक्रोश है इसको लेकर के, क्या बहुत दुख है, या किस तरह से इस सिचुएशन को देख रहे हैं और कैसे रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहे हैं. सो एक ये लास्ट क्वेश्चन, इफ वी कैन क्विकली, इफ सम ऑफ आवर कलीग्स, हमारे कोई साथी इसमें.
आई वुड लाइक टू.
Yes, please.
हाँ, सो आई वुड लाइक टू से कि मतलब यहाँ पे ब्लॉक लेवल पे हम जो सिचुएशन देख रहे हैं, दो टाइप का यूथ है. एक जिसके पास थोड़ा बहुत पैसा है और एक जिसके पास पैसा भी नहीं है, आने में सारा खर्च होगा. तो जिनके पास पैसा है वो कुछ भी छोटा मोटा काम करने को आज के डेट में तैयार है और वो करना स्टार्ट कर चुके हैं. क्योंकि मतलब अगर ब्लॉक की सिचुएशन देखें तो यहाँ पे सिर्फ पहले 2 फ्रूट वेंडर्स थे, बट जैसे जैसे लॉकडाउन 3rd में एंटर किया, यहाँ पे देयर आर अबाउट 10 फ्रूट सेलर्स जो फ्रूट सेल कर रहे हैं, और यू कैन टॉक टू देम एंड यू कैन नो कि वो बाहर के आए हुए लोग हैं. सेकंड, जो लोग हैं जो माइग्रेंट है, जिनके पास पैसे नहीं है, खाने को नहीं है, आइदर दे आर गोइंग टू, फिर वो नशे वाली चीज में दे आर एंटरिंग की लोकल जो भी अल्कोहल है उसका कंजम्पशन करके इधर उधर पड़े हैं. और जो एक इसी में जो जिनके पास पैसे नहीं है वो ये है कि उनको जो भी छोटा मोटा काम मिल रहा है, जिस रेट पे जो भी मिल रहा है तो वो कर रहे हैं. तो इसमें भी 2 इश्यूज है. एक तो ये है कि उनका अल्कोहलिज्म बढ़ रहा है, उसकी वजह से और सारी चीजें बढ़ रही हैं. यू कैन रिलेट इट टू वायलेंस एंड क्राइम आल्सो. और उसी के साथ साथ जो छोटा मोटा काम मिल रहा है, तो उसमें क्या हो रहा है कि जो मतलब जो बड़े बड़े जिनको हम वो बोलते हैं कि गांव के जमींदार लोग, उनको ये फायदा मिल रहा है कि उनको चीप लेबर मिल रहा है, बट उनके लिए जो लेबर्स हैं उनके लिए तो लॉस है ये.
So thank you, Prerna, and I think we are almost about time. In fact, overboarded. We had few more questions, but probably we won't be able to take. So I'll again like to warmly thank all of you who have taken out time and spoken to us, and also the attendees and participants who took time to listen to the stories from the ground. So we were very grateful to bring this to you, and thank you. Good evening to all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.